What's up, guys? Shrimp Po Boy coming at you. Tonight, well, it's evening time. It's late evening. No, it's at the end of dusk as I record this particular April night, or hitting the night on April, late April. To those who make these two claims, first claim I'm going to go through. For anyone who this is to anyone who claims F.A. Hayek advocated a one world government. There's two channels I'm going to link videos of where this false, bald-faced lie has been stated. That's either it's intentional lying, or just not reading the shit and having shit comprehension like Philip W. Magnus when talking about Hoppe, because his reading comprehension was a fucking level of worse than a retard. Which is sad because he's a brilliant economist and brilliant historian, economic historian, and I appreciate him, but the intellectual dishonesty he's got about Hoppe is just disgusting. I've been working on videos towards aiming to dispel a lot of mythology, all that on that stuff already for future episodes of Hoppe for Dumbasses, to walk people in the best of my ability. So that, just letting you know, I've been working on that. I've been script writing. It's been months at it, trying to polish my shit up, you know. So. Plus, I also got a bunch of other stuff because I'm building myself a fuel reformer to put on a tiller and doing some other shit like that. And I'll talk about that in the future. I'll finish talking about some of the stuff related to some of that in the future as well when I've already started. Anyway, this particular motherfucking video is to call out those individuals who actually claim, number one, that F.A. Hayek advocated a globalist or one world government. That is what we call a fucking lie, folks. Okay? That is a bald-faced fucking lie. One individual said, if you look at the appendix, by the way, Road to Serfdom did not have an appendix at all. I have the digital scan of the motherfucker. I know it said. I actually downloaded at least 3 copies of it to make sure I had it, and I copied them into M discs to put away in cases. I'm going to buy another set of cases to archive my shit and put them in a safe one day. Put them in different places, different copies, for archival reasons that are long-term using M disc technology. That's what I'm doing, right? I'm doing this. Along with some other stuff I got. And some other stuff I've gathered from other sorts of people that needs to be looked at and actually scrutinized, and no one's wanting to do it. But that's not what we're here about. It's not even what we're talking about, but I'm doing it, just putting that out there. I know the book. I actually, in second, if you actually look at the chapter known as The Prospects of International Order, pages from the bottom of page 219 to the top of page 222. Read those specific fucking pages. You will know this is a damn lie. And anyone who says it is lying or has not read it. Now, one individual, I'm not going to say the name of the said individual. You'll find out for yourself. You'll find out for your damn self. Okay? You'll see for yourself. I like the guy. I disagree with him being a tradcon, a Hobbesian absolutist theocrat. I disagree with that, and I disagree with certain peddlings he does, but in his quote-unquote justifications, but his heart's in the right place with calling out the elites, spreading the faith around, in my case, in this particular one, but still calling out the elites, introducing people to metaphilosophy, transcendentals, metaphysics, philosophy in general, and stuff like that. These are all great points, whether you look at spreading the faith as a good point or not, as a secular or something else. You still factor all these other things I listed that he does. He does. And they're great. And I still watch him. I think he's good for what he does. I mean, I got my own little list of bookmarks of his stuff out of the thousands of bookmarks I actually have on this Brave browser. So, that's one individual. Another is a buddy of mine from Sweden showed me this other channel where this claim was made that Hayek. Hayek supposedly advocated for one world government. So I already called out the falsehood of the one person that claimed it, and then two. The first individual I just spoke a little bit about, and see. The second claim is libertarians are controlled opposition, which is hilarious. Libertarians politically and economically get cherry-picked from and then half-assed and bastardized by the neocon part of the elites, narrative peddlings of the elites. And then get demonized venomously and openly by the neocon pushing factions of the Western elites, and by the majority of, if not all, the left. The reason I say if not all the left is because metaphilosophically we're diametrically opposed to one another. A lot of their fucking metaphilosophical underpinnings come from a bunch of aristocrats and career politicians that fucking advocated giving the state power, hoping to inflate it out of existence. And then certain specific exceptions like Proudhon and Bakunin and Kropotkin advocated against doing that, but they still had some of the similarities and still had some conceptions that still are not very pro-individualistic, and it's a little contradictory. To the point, one interpretation of Proudhon is an entire playlist up by Springtime of Nations or whatever, and then the other interpretation, which is just equally valid, which is my criticism of Proudhon, over on the fucking Red Mutualist side. The problem is they're both equally valid. The point is, so it's bullshit. And I've seen lefty libertarians, in quotation marks, peddle that somehow paleo-libs and libertarian right intellectuals are somehow being emboldened by the fucking algorithms that are against liberty fundamentally. There was centrist comments like chunks of that when I mentioned fucking Mao, they got deleted. And the only time that was recorded was DM emailed notifications of people I was talking to in comment section saying, "Oh shit, Wes, you might have a fucking point." Total strangers. So, which I said to one so-called lib leftist, I just call him fakertarian fuck, and I said, "You got proof for that shit?" "Oh wait, you don't. You're just shitting out your cock holster, you little fuck ass." So, to call libertarians and libertarian right, like myself and others, controlled opposition in general is disingenuous and fucking objectively wrong. It's a lie. It's a well poisoning and a fucking damnedest of lies. You know how people say there's lies, there's damn lies, there's statistics? I got two fucking in between notches between, if you turn that dial. There's two more clicks between statistics and damn lies. It's fucking lies and then motherfucking lies. These are what you'd call motherfucking lies, because they're so vicious and disgusting and disingenuous. So, Libertarian. The second claim is libertarians are controlled opposition. In one instance, was because somehow, by quote unquote justifying it by claiming that the libertarians somehow view Hayek as essential and they must be for a one world government so they're controlled op. The individual's seething because he got his fucking ass handed to him by a fucking ANCAP. It's blatantly what the fuck that was. That's all I got to say about that. He's looking for a way to justify himself. It's the first individual I was talking about, and that's the fucking truth. Now let me quote the let me first. So I just nuked the second claim. Now I'm gonna fucking quote the top from the bottom of page 219 all the way to the top of page 222 of The Road to Serfdom. If the resources of different nations are treated as exclusive properties of these nations as wholes, if international economic relations, instead being relations between individuals, become increasingly relations between whole nations organized as trade bodies, they inevitably become a source of friction and envy between whole other nations. I just add others just to ad lib on my part. Back to it. So it's a mild paraphrase of this spot. It is one of the most fatal illusions that by substituting negotiations between states or organized groups for competition for markets or for raw materials, international friction could be reduced. This would merely put a contest of force in the place of what can only metaphorically be called the struggle of competition. And he said struggle in quotation marks when he wrote this. And would transfer to powerful and armed states, subject to no superior law. The rivalries between individuals had to be decided without recourse to force. Economic transactions between national bodies who are at the same time supreme judges of their own behavior, who bow to no superior law, and whose representatives cannot be found by any considerations but the immediate interests of their respective nations, must end in clashes of power. If we were to make no better use of victory than to countenance existing trends in this direction only two, visible before 1939, we might indeed find that we have defeated National Socialism merely to create a world of many National Socialisms. Differing in detail, but all equally totalitarian, nationalistic, and in recurrent conflict with each other, the Germans would appear as disturbers of peace, as they already do to some people, merely because they were the first to take the path along which all others were ultimately to follow. Those who at least partially realize these dangers usually draw the conclusion that economic planning must be done internationally, i.e. by some supranational authority. But though this would subvert some of the obvious dangers raised by planning on a national scale, it seems that those who advocate such ambitious schemes have little conception of the even greater difficulties and dangers which their proposals create. Let me repeat that part. Those who at least partly realize that these dangers usually draw the conclusion that economic planning must be done internationally, i.e. by some supranational authority, but though this would avert some of the obvious dangers raised by planning on a national scale, it seems that those who advocate such ambitious schemes, oh my God, this is prophetic, have little conception of the even greater difficulties and dangers in which their proposals create. This right here debunks anyone who claims he advocates for a one world government. This little fucking sentence right here. Actually, it's a 2-sentence section of a paragraph. Now that I've just debunked that claim, let me continue quoting this. The problems raised by a conscious direction of economic affairs on a national scale inevitably assume even greater dimensions when the same is attempted internationally. I just debunked this shit twice. The conflict between planning and freedom cannot become more serious as the similarity of standards and values among those submitted to a unitary plan diminishes. More debunking of this claim. There need be little difficulty in planning the economic life of a family, comparatively little in a small community. Now, this is where him and I disagree with Hayek and David D. Friedman. This is a false equivocation fallacy. A controlled economy's economic planning is entirely different. It's socialistic in the sense that it collectivizes everything and tries to remove price signalings. Economic planning, like in a firm or in a family, in a household or a family, relies on a market to receive signals from to varying degrees in order to strategize in response to said market signals. Economic central planning tries to control all of that, which is why this is one of several reasons why it's a false equivocation. This is my biggest constructive criticism against David Friedman in his debate with fucking Esoteric, the drug fox. Okay? And when Esso was trying to bust his balls, he actually had a grain there. Yeah, I fucking said it. I'm sticking to it. Eat me. If you don't like my saying that, fucking eat me. No, I'm not hating on David Friedman. This is a constructive criticism and why I'm explaining the surface of why that is. Okay? You can put your own biases aside to actually critique something, okay? That's what I'm doing here. But as the scale increases, the amount of agreement on the order of ends decreases and the necessity to rely on force and compulsion grows. In a small community, common values on the relative importance of the main tasks, agreed standards of value will exist on a great many subjects, but their number will become less and less less and less the wider we throw the net, and as there is less community of views, the necessity to rely on force and coercion increases. There. If fucking Hayek was such a globo-homo bastard, he would not have said a tenth of the shit I just quoted in his book. I will link that motherfucker too. If you're gonna critique someone you disagree with, don't be a bald-faced lying cocksucker about them. Period. And if you're on a live stream and you got multiple people peddling the same shit, they're just as they need to be held just as culpable as you. Period. I've said my piece. Have a blessed evening. Have a blessed day for those of you who see this recording. And one of the channels that I basically just lambasted for doing this shit, I still like, but I'm not going to sit there and sit by and not say something and call it the disingenuousness about of this particular thing, of these kind of particular times. If you're gonna call someone controlled up, you actually need fucking evidence, or go fuck yourself. It's plain and simple. Or you need some kind of deduction. Oh, this is how they're controlled up, and actually do something of substance. Don't lie. Don't poison the well. Don't bald-faced lie. Don't fabricate shit. You're just harming your own cause. And rightfully so when you do shit like that. Because when people put two and two together, like, oh my god, this dude's lying. Oh my god, this femoid is fucking lying. Anyways, that's all I gotta say. I'll see you later. I'm done. Have a blessed one.